Well, let's get to the position where it all starts on offense, and that is quarterback. Zeon Christ leaves for Houston, and that leaves Chandler Fields and Ben Wooldridge left in that quarterback room, both of which saw playing time last year. They also brought in Adrian Lara from Kansas State. How did the quarterback battle shape up during the spring?
Well, it shaped up for mostly Chandler Fields. Ben Wooldridge still recuperating from a broken foot, which he needed surgery on, so he really couldn't do anything in terms of, practicing. He would do drills, but never just individual drills. So we don't know how that's the case, right? Chandler Fields ends up coming back. Chandler Fields had quite the offseason. He graduated, got engaged, and with Zeon leaving, I think he made the wise decision to come back because, Ben hasn't proven to be healthy yet in a couple of seasons. So Chandler is there. He's not the biggest of all cats. He's a little guy. He's mobile, and he's pretty good at what he does. The quarterback that I think we have to look out for is Samari Collier. He has the athleticism and the arm. He played in that spring ball game, and he could be that Zeon Christ one that you're thinking, well, maybe this is the guy, even though we have Fields who's been experienced, Wooldridge is experienced. The ceiling may be higher with Samari Collier. He went to Illinois, but he went to junior college, and that's where he came from last season. But I would presume, I would phrase that. I wouldn't presume. We'll see what happens come the fall. When I always ask that question, when these coaches like to have the decision made, and they always come back with the cliche answer, well, the players make the decision. Well, baloney. they make the decision. I presume we won't have one heading into fall ball because it's at least Chandler Fields and Ben Wooldridge. We'll find out about Collier, moving forward. So it'll be an interesting season. The thing is, Mike Desimo, along with other guys in the Sun Belt, like, this is the year. We got it. I have to get this done. They lost a couple of games last year that they probably should have won. And he's been the coach for 2 seasons, and yet he's coached in 3 bowl games. So it's not like we've fallen off the cliff here, but he has not competed for a Sun Belt championship. And though Billy Napier only won 1, he kept on competing for it. And, that's what's expected for the Cajuns.
Moving on to the running game, Louisiana lost its leading rusher from a year ago in Jacob Cabody. They do look to have a deep running back room with the likes of Dre'lyn Washington and Zylan Perry, Bill Davis, among others coming back. How did that room shape up in the spring?
Well, that's the room. It is that's the room. The strength of the Cajuns is going to be the defensive line, the offensive line, and the running backs. I wish I had the stat. I got to get the stats back and talk to Mike Desimo about this, because he says if they run it like 40 times for 180 yards, or maybe it's like 35 times for 180 yards, they have a ridiculous 90 to 95% winning percentage. Whereas it doesn't matter how many yards we pass it for. We can win when we throw for 200 yards. We can win when we throw for 300 yards, or we could lose when we throw for 400 yards, although that probably hasn't happened very much. So there's no rhyme or reason to the passing yards connection to winning percentage, but they want to run the football. That's what Mark Hudspeth did. That's what Billy Napier did. And Mike Desimo knows that's what they have to do. Now, the difference between what Des has had and the 2 previous coaches is health, whether it be the quarterback or the offensive line. When Mark Hudspeth was the coach for a few, for I think 6 years, he had a stretch there where the offensive line was not hurt. The same guys that started game 1 finished up the season. Well, then you're going to run the ball pretty well, and you're going to protect the quarterback when that's the case, right? Billy Napier comes in, and his last 3 seasons, Levi Lewis is your starting quarterback each and every ballgame. Last year, Mike Desimo started 3 different quarterbacks. The year before, all 3 quarterbacks played. So the big key this year to the Cajuns is going to be health. And if they can run that football, that's going to help out, hopefully, a lot of the team to stay healthy. And they kind of, more on a pro level than anything else, because they haven't had a huge prolific passer. It's never been that kind of team since maybe Jake Delhomme, and that's before my time in Lafayette. They're more like Troy Aikman numbers, right? We want to see with maybe a little running in there as well. right? The quarterback wants to be 16 for 21 for 185 yards and 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. That's what they want. They're not looking for what everybody else is doing, 30 for 35 for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's not Cajuns football. They want to run it down your throat. A couple of years ago when they had the triple-headed monster with Eli Mitchell starring in there, I mean, they could, and a couple of offensive linemen that are now, Robert Hunt signed a big deal with the Panthers, right? And Kevin Dotson is another big one. They could you could yell across the line of scrimmage, running right, on 2, running right, and you couldn't stop them. It didn't matter. They had Eli Mitchell, Trey Regis, and
was it Montreal Johnson? Was that
no, a speedster. No, a speedster. I'll think about it. Raymond. He played for the Rams, actually, and he was the speedster. At one point in time, Levi Lewis led the nation in, handoffs for yardage because he would come in only on a 4th possession and hand it off. And I'll think about it. This running back, Raymond, it's Raymond something. He would run for 80-yard touchdowns, and Levi would come out because it was only in there for that possession. So for the running game, it's all about that. The big question in that running game, can Zylan Perry hang on to the football? He had some fumble issues last year, a couple of them near the goal line that probably cost the Cajuns a couple of games.
Was it Raymond? Was it Callis?
Oh, Raymond Calais Jr. That's it. Yep, okay. Raymond Calais Jr. Yeah. Speedster. But that was the 3-headed monster. So that's the big deal. Maybe they have another 3-headed monster in this case.
So last year we kind of saw more of a 2-headed monster with a 60-40-ish split with Cajuns and Washington. What kind of a split do you think we're going to see here? Do you think it's going to be that 3-headed monster or mainly 2? Yeah.
Yeah. Bill Davis is in there, runs downhill, can catch the ball out of the backfield. We're going to stay with who's hot type of deal. But I think they're going to rotate it. Right. I'd say 3-headed monster with the other ones, but it was really 2. So we'll see if Zylan Perry is that second one. It was mostly Trey Regis and Eli Mitchell back in the day, and Calais would spell them. Bill Davis is just kind of that. I'm putting my head down and, I'm going to run over you type of deal, where the other 2 guys probably have more breakaway speed. Davis is a little bit of the maybe the 3rd down back, trying to catch the ball out of the backfield type of deal. So the first 2 are probably more talented. Davis may be more consistent is the better way of looking at it.
Sure. So getting back to that passing game, the Ragin Cajuns lose Peter LeBlanc to graduation, but they do return a nice core from 2023 and leading returning receiver Jacob Bernard, Robert Williams, and a nice freshman tandem of Harvey Broussard and Charles Robertson. How did the wide receivers look in the spring?
Yeah, the big deal is going to be Broussard and Robert Williams. Those guys are going to be, if the Cajuns are going to hit the passing down the field, it's really Broussard and Robert Williams. I think Williams was helping out Broussard. He's a year older. But last year, Broussard was just kind of running and just go out there and catch the football. Now he's understanding how to run routes. He's understanding how to get off the line. And I think Robert probably helped him with that. And I think Robert's a little bit stronger. But these guys had really good springs. The Cajuns, it's been a minute since they've had a dynamic duo potentially at wide receiver. Again, it's still about the running game. But at the same time, Napier, it bothered the heck out of me. He would try to open up the offense trying to throw it because he knew that everybody was trying to stop the defense. Well, this is the opportunity. Maybe the Cajuns can surprise some people by trying to throw it early to loosen up the defense because, again, they will try to stop the running attack. But it's really going to be those 2 guys. Broussard and Williams are the 1-2 punch for the Cajuns. And here's the thing. We'll see if they play all 4 years with the Cajuns. This may be their season to kind of take it to the next level for the Cajuns. And then they'll be on everyone's radar. We hate to talk about that, but that's what this day and age is. You all of a sudden step up and, become a 1,000-yard receiver and you score 8 to 10 touchdowns. And then, you're Power 5 bound, unfortunately.
Yeah. Louisiana took a big hit at tight end with losing Neil Johnson to graduation. He was near the top in team's targets and receptions and was the team leader in touchdown receptions with 5. If you were to describe the tight end usage for this offense to somebody who's never caught a game, how would you describe it?
Well, it's not enough. I'm a huge tight end guy. I will, my claim to fame. Napier's called me out a couple of times in press conferences. And then I called him out last year at the SEC Media Days. So I always ask Mike Desimo about the tight end. I happen to think the tight end, and especially in this day and age, is the mismatch on the field, right? Too fast for the linebackers and too big for the safeties. All right. You don't have to be Gronk or Travis Kelce. You can be whatever. You could be the Neil Johnson version of that. You can be the Terrence Carter version of that. Terrence Carter, very much more of a catching tight end, which I love, but he's working on the blocking aspect of it. So, when you're doing most of the blocking, right, and you're doing more of that per se, and that's where the bread and butter is for the running game, he needs to work on that because the catching is going to be there. For the most part, they have never had. It feels to me like the Cajuns have always had that the tight end's been the afterthought with the running game and the wide receivers. It just doesn't feel like, it's a safety valve for everybody, whether it was Brady or Mahomes or Joe Montana, right? Even Jake Delhomme with Carolina and those guys over there. So that's what I would like to see, not only hitting guys downfield and opening up everything, right? Because if you have to double team a tight end, then the running game is going to open up and the underneath passing game is going to open up as well. And you get those, 6-yard crossing routes that go for either 35 yards or can go for 65 yards because the linebackers are vacating the middle of the field. So I think Terrence Carter is the guy. Everyone's been talking about him, and we'll see how he does blocking because that's how to determine how much he plays. But he's definitely the guy that they're going to look to throw the ball.
What kind of production do you think we can expect to see from him in this offense?
Well, again, it won't be enough for my liking. He's probably going to be an afterthought with the running backs and the wide receivers. I would love for him to be incredibly productive. I don't think they do that enough on the goal line. I don't think they do that enough on third down because you can really, you go 4 or 5 wide, right? Or you go 4 wide and not split the tight end. And all of a sudden everyone goes deep and you can just dump it off to the tight end. And, you spread them out, when you're, 4th and goal from the 2 and you could just, lay it out there for the tight end to catch it or the quarterback can run it in. It just seems like it's really easy. And I would hope the production would be more than anticipated. But if he gets 500 yards and 5 touchdowns in this offense, that's going to be a lot. I would like it to be more than that, but everybody knows that. So that's the way I feel. I am absolutely tight end biased.
Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Moving over to the offensive line, you mentioned earlier that's a strength of the team, and they return much of their line from 2023. They do lose left tackle Nathan Thomas to graduation, but return everyone else. So they bring back A.J. Gilly at left guard, Landon Burton at center, Jax Harrington at right guard, and George Jackson at right tackle. How did the offensive line look in the spring, and do they have someone yet that they can fill in that left tackle spot?
Well, it could be Quentin Williams or Bryant Williams. I think I'm going to go Quentin Williams on that. The big deal is Landon Burton. He's the center, and he got hurt last year, and Gilly could not snap the ball. I'm pretty sure that was against Southern Miss. They had to bring in the freshman to snap the football. They could not snap the ball. So I'm going to guess that more than one guy is going to learn how to snap the ball this year. But that offensive line is experienced. It's as good as it's been in a few years. Again, we talked about the guys who've played in the pros, and you got Max Mitchell with the Jets, in the pros. It has put in it's been a really good offensive line for the better part of a decade. And this one has a ton of experience. Burton should be healthy. I don't think it was much more than a high ankle sprain. And so he should be ready to go. It's really all going to start, right? We all talk about the quarterback, but this team is going to go as good as this offensive line is. If they can't run block or pass block, I mean, thank you, Mr. Obvious, Captain Obvious, but they should be able to do both. And I'm looking for big things. It's a ton of experience, and that's where it's going to start for the Cajuns.
All right. David, if you had to pick an offensive player to have a breakout type season in 2024, who would that be?
I'd love to say Terrence Carter. It's either going to be Harvey Broussard or Zylan Perry. Again, Zylan Perry had fumbleitis last year. That was a problem, but he's the guy. He is the one guy. He has got a little Mitchell in him, and he can make a guy miss. Got breakaway speed. He's the guy. And if the offensive line can come together and they settle on a quarterback, whoever it is, so Levi Lewis never quite got as consistently good as I would have liked him to be. But boy, in his senior year, his last year, he could throw that deep ball. He was as clutch as could be. And if they find that kind of mixture where the quarterback can hit the deep ball, Harvey Broussard is going to open up a lot of eyes. Those guys are probably the most talented guys on offense. Not necessarily the most consistent, but could be the most explosive. So Zylan Perry, if he can hang on to the football, and Harvey Broussard, it's kind of like they say, going from first game to the second game, that's your biggest improvement. They're looking for big things to improve in year number 2 for Broussard.
If you're watching on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. And if you're listening in podcast form, please rate and review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Thank you all for your support. And until the next time, we are the G5 Hive.
Fight on, Cajuns, fight on to victory for the red and white. We will sing a triumphant glory for our team tonight. You will hear the razor of the Cajuns, so let's give a yell. Hey! Hustle up and bustle up and fight on victory, go!